Hello everyone. So today we're going to be continuing our Empires A to Z series by looking at a scenario where Albania forms an empire. Albania is a tiny nation located in the Western Balkans where the Adriatic and Ionian Seas meet. It has a population of roughly 2.7 million people and it's the 125th largest economy in the world. But today we're going to turn Albania from a backwater in the Balkans to the preeminent power in the region. Now, before we get too far in, I want to address the elephant in the room. Albania is a part of NATO and is surrounded by NATO allies. If Albania actually went to war with these people, it would fire off a ton of alliances, and that just isn't very fun as Albania wouldn't last long. So today, we're going to do away with those alliances. Now, on to making Albania into an empire. So first off, Albania has to fix itself. It's going to do that by electing a stronger president with some actual goals on improving the nation. The first thing this new president does is commit himself to fixing the economy. Albania invests heavily into building strategic railroads that tie Albanian ports to other nations, increasing port infrastructure to handle all the new exports, and attracting foreign investors to increase the oil output from Albania's massive oil reserves. A plan is also put into place to encourage small business growth and remove corruption. As the economy grows, the nation turns its attention to building up its military. Recruiting is stepped up to attract many young soldiers to the armed forces. Training programs take priority and turn the Albanian armed forces into the best fighting force in the Balkans. Finally, the army is given new equipment like tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and artillery pieces, while the Air Force receives an entire squadron of jet fighters and drones. While Albania has been improving itself, it has also been working with other nations in the Balkans to secure its own goals. This primarily takes place in securing Kosovo, which has a large majority of ethnic Albanians living there. Being primarily Albanian already, and seeing that Albania's power is rising, the Kosovar people determine that independence doesn't make a lot of sense. The government in Kosovo is pressured by the people and decides to allow an official referendum to determine if Kosovo should remain independent or join Albania. Over 70% of Kosovans decide that uniting with Albania is best, and Albania formally annexes Kosovo to create Greater Albania. Serbia lodges complaints, but ultimately does not act, as it sees a war with Albania over Kosovo as unwinnable and too destabilizing for its relations in the region. Seeing Serbia's unwillingness to fight for Kosovo, Bulgaria decides that it wants to make good on its claims for a Greater Bulgaria. Bulgaria turns its eyes west to North Macedonia and demands that they turn over all the lands east of the Vardar River, which runs through the middle of the country. North Macedonia refuses, and Bulgaria declares war. As North Macedonian forces are pushed back by Bulgaria, the ethnic Albanian population in North Macedonia makes pleas to the Albanian government to save them and Macedonia. Albania responds by declaring a limited military intervention and invades North Macedonia from the north and west. Macedonia's armed forces are so tied up fighting Bulgaria that only a sporadic defense of the rest of the country can be made. In many cases, the Macedonian people see Albania as coming to their aid and greet the passing columns of troop carriers. Albania takes most of Western Macedonia with only a few shots fired, and the Macedonian capital of Skopje falls to Albania with only sporadic fighting. As its capital falls, the government in North Macedonia capitulates and orders its forces fighting the Bulgarians to hold the front lines until Albanian troops can arrive. Albania advances to the front lines with Bulgaria as fast as possible. Bulgaria orders all troops to not fire on Albanian forces, and a stalemate descends on the battlefield. Both sides meet in Bucharest and sign a treaty formally cementing the borders along the Vardar and Bragovnica rivers. With Kosovo and North Macedonia no longer attainable for Serbia, Serbia secretly begins to fuel the ethnic Serbian separatist groups in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This causes the unrest in Bosnia and Herzegovina to become too much for the government to handle. The Dayton Agreement fails, as the unrest turns into a full-blown civil war. Serbia quickly backs the Republika Srpska, while Croatia rushes to support the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Within a matter of months, the Second Bosnian War devolves until both sides are sucked into a nasty ethnic conflict. As Serbia gets further involved in the Second Bosnian War, Albania starts looking for a new target to expand into. It doesn't take long for it to set its sights on Montenegro. Upon determining that Serbia isn't likely to come to its pseudo-allies' defense, Albania declares war on Montenegro. Albania begins its offensive by attacking south of Lake Skadar and taking the port town of Bar. Upon taking the important port town, Albanian forces begin to push on Podgorica, while the forces from Bar fan out along the coast. Upon taking the entire Montenegrin coastline, Albanian forces circle around to Podgorica, where they outmaneuver the city's defenders. Within days, Montenegro is forced to surrender, as it loses its capital and the ability to resist Albania. Albania then annexes all of Montenegro. As Albania integrates Montenegro, the Second Bosnian War reaches a pivotal point. Serb forces have taken the pivotal cities of Mostar and Tuzla. The capital of Sarajevo is encircled on 3 sides, and Bosnia finds itself running low on weapons and ammunition. Bosnia's primary supporter, Croatia, approaches Albania to help. Albania sees this as a way to help weaken Serbia further, and Albania begins sending better weapons to the Bosnians. This allows the Bosnians to begin to turn the tide. They retake Tuzla and push the Serb forces back from Sarajevo. Fearing that they could lose the war, the Republic of Srpska approaches Serbia about formally annexing them. Serbia agrees and assumes the entire territory of the Republic of Srpska. Serbia then demands that Bosnia hand over Sarajevo. Bosnia declines, and Serbia declares war on the Republic of Bosnia. Croatia and Albania respond by declaring war on Serbia, and the Second Bosnian War devolves into the Third Balkan War. Following the outbreak of the wider war, Croatian forces race into Bosnia to help secure the front lines and assist the Bosnians against the larger Serbian army. Meanwhile, Albania begins an offensive in the south to take Trebinje. They are not only successful in taking Trebinje, but they also take the important city of Mostar too. Serbian forces regain their losses towards Sarajevo and begin a push into Albanian Kosovo. Croatian forces push across the northern border into Bosnian Serbia and begin a campaign to take Banja Luka. Albanian forces push Serbian forces back and begin their own offensive into southern Serbia. Serbia sees its positions in Bosnia as no longer tenable and begins an organized withdrawal from its positions there to create a better defensive line, while also beginning conscription of men under 40 into its armed forces. The war stalls for several months, and its effects begin to be felt in the Serbian province of Vojvodina, where the people protest conscription and call for the war to come to a close. Serbia responds by declaring martial law in the region to quell the protest. This has a reverse effect, as Vojvodina's civil protests turn into riots, and a rebellion in the region begins. Croatia and Albania contact the rebels in Vojvodina to lend support. With Croatian and Albanian assistance, the rebels declare independence and announce the formation of the Republic of Vojvodina. With its declaration of independence, Vojvodina begins an armed uprising to secure its claimed territory. Croatia and Albania quickly recognize and arm the new republic. With Serbian forces divided yet again, Albania restarts its southern offensive and takes the town of Nesh, while Croatia finds success taking the town of Brčko. Serbia's southern line begins to fall apart as Albanian forces turn their attention to attack north. Serbia evacuates what remaining loyal troops from Vojvodina that they can, and the upstart republic secures its capital, Novi Sad, from Serbia. Albanian forces mop up in southern Serbia and begin a push on the key Serbian city of Kragujevac. Croatian and Bosnian forces wrap up their operations in Bosnia and begin pushing to the Sava River in Serbia. Within weeks, both Croatian and Albanian armies have pushed to Belgrade's city limits. After a hard-fought battle in the capital streets, Albanian troops storm the new palace to force the capitulation of Serbia. With the war now over, Croatia annexes northern Srpska and turns the Bosnian Republic into a protectorate. The Republic of Vojvodina is freed completely, and its territory made of Serbian lands north of the Sava and Danube rivers. Albania annexes the remainder of Serbia in southern Srpska. As the Third Balkan War comes to an end, Albania begins to rebuild and integrate its newly annexed regions. A special emphasis is placed on infrastructure projects and granting limited autonomy to its new citizens. Albania manages to repair its relations with Bulgaria and moves closer with the new Republic of Vojvodina. As time progresses, the Republic of Vojvodina's economy begins to fail as it becomes too reliant on Albanian imports and exports in order to survive. The young republic's debt to Albania grows, and Albania's influence in the nation grows with it. This causes the relations between Albania and Croatia to break down. Within a decade, Vojvodina has become independent in name only, and Albania solidifies this by declaring the region to be a protectorate of Albania. This is the final straw for Croatia, as they see their interest in the region tossed to the side. Croatia demands that Albania release its hold over Vojvodina and allow foreign investment into the region. Albania refuses on the basis that Vojvodina's debt to Albania is too great to give up control. Croatia decides that the only way to wrestle Vojvodina from Albania is to do so by force, and declares war on Albania and Vojvodina. Croatia's initial offensive quickly overwhelms the Albanian border guards, and they take several key towns along the border, including Trebinje and Ruma. Croatia's declaration comes as a surprise for Albania, and they are slow to respond. Taking advantage of the ill-prepared Albanians, Croatia enters the outskirts of both Novi Sad and Belgrade. Albania's air force runs sorties day and night to disrupt Croatian supply lines and manages to slow the advance down enough for the Albanian army to catch up. Meanwhile in Vojvodina, the local populace forms a citizens' resistance force and stages ambushes on Croatian troops in the region. The Vojvodinan Defense Force attacks the Croatian rearguard along the Danube River, resulting in a complete cutoff of all Croatian forces north of the river. Meanwhile, the Albanian army sees success at Sabak, which threatens the entire Croatian attack on Belgrade and Novi Sad. Croatian forces push from Trebinje towards Nikšić, but a division of Albania's elite forces ambush the column and destroy it. Albanian forces then push to retake Trebinje, as well as Dubrovnik and Mostar. Albania's forces near Sabak push towards Ruma and cut off the Croatians attacking Belgrade. With the assistance of the Albanian Air Force, the Vojvodinan Defense Force destroys the remaining Croatian units around Novi Sad. With the majority of Croatia's most experienced troops eliminated at Novi Sad or cut off west of Belgrade, Albanian troops attack Sarajevo and begin a push along Croatia's Adriatic coastline. It is at this point that Slovenia enters the conflict to attempt to increase its holdings in the region. Slovenian forces invade Istria and grab some territory northeast of Zagreb. The entire Croatian front line falters, and the Albanian army races to take Rijeka. Albanian forces take Banja Luka and surround Zagreb. Albania mops up the Croatian forces west of Belgrade. As Zagreb falls, Croatia capitulates, and peace is finally achieved. A peace conference is held in Vienna, where the victors divide the spoils. Vojvodina is granted Croatian land north of the Drava River. Slovenia receives Istria and some regions to the northeast of Zagreb, while Albania gets the rest. Years later, Vojvodina would be peacefully annexed into Albania. And that about does it for Albania. This once tiny mountainous nation is now on the path to being the preeminent power in the Balkans and Southern Europe. I hope you all enjoyed this scenario. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and leaving a comment. Those things really help the channel in a big way, and I appreciate your support. Anyways, I'll see you next time as we do another nation in Empire's A to Z.